Marcus Chun stared at the rusted docking bay doors through the cracked viewport of his shuttle. The Kepler station stretched before him like a metallic graveyard, its hull pockmarked with micrometeorite impacts and decades of neglect. Solar panels hung at odd angles, their surfaces clouded with cosmic dust. This was it. This was where he would spend his final months. The cancer had won. 3 years of treatments, surgeries, and false hopes had drained both his savings and his spirit. The doctors gave him 6 months, maybe 8 if he was lucky. Marcus didn't feel lucky. He felt tired, angry, and completely alone since Sarah's death 2 years ago. Their dream of exploring the galaxy together had died with her, leaving him with nothing but bitter memories and a terminal diagnosis. The auction listing had been buried deep in the Colonial Administration's database. Abandoned commercial starport, Sector 7G, minimal infrastructure, sold as is. The price was laughably low, even for his diminished funds. Perfect for a man who wanted to disappear from the universe. His shuttle's docking computer chirped a successful connection. The airlock cycled with a wheeze of ancient machinery, and Marcus stepped into what had once been the main passenger terminal. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across empty check-in counters and overturned chairs. A faded holographic sign flickered intermittently, displaying arrival times for ships that would never come. The station's central computer responded to his access codes with surprising efficiency. Life support systems hummed to life, filling the corridors with breathable atmosphere. Gravity generators stabilized at Earth normal. Someone had maintained the core systems well, despite the station's abandoned appearance. Marcus explored his new home methodically. The residential quarters were sparse, but functional. The hydroponics base still contained the withered remains of vegetables, suggesting the previous occupants had left recently rather than decades ago. The observation deck offered a spectacular view of the nearby nebula, its purple and gold gases swirling in cosmic winds. He set up his medical equipment in what had been the station manager's office. Pain medication, monitoring devices, and a comfortable chair where he could watch the stars during his final days. No more hospitals, no more false hope, no more pitying looks from medical staff who knew he was dying. The first night passed peacefully. Marcus sat in the observation deck, sipping synthetic coffee and watching the nebula's slow dance. This was what he wanted. Solitude, dignity, a quiet end far from Earth's overcrowded cities, and clinical sterility. On the second morning, proximity alarms screamed through the station. Marcus stumbled from his bed, his weakened body protesting the sudden movement. The main display showed a massive vessel approaching, easily 10 times larger than any ship he'd ever seen. Its hull was smooth and organic, looking like polished bone, with flowing curves that seemed to shift in the starlight. The communication board crackled to life. The voice that emerged was melodious yet alien, speaking accented but fluent English. Unknown human, you are aboard our station. Explain your presence immediately. Marcus's hands shook as he activated the response system. This is Marcus Chun. I purchased this station legally from the Colonial Administration. I have documentation. Silence stretched for long moments. Then, impossible. This station was not theirs to sell. The massive ship moved closer, dwarfing the starport. Through the viewport, Marcus could see smaller craft detaching from the vessel's hull, like seed from a pod. His heart hammered against his ribs, adrenaline temporarily overwhelming the constant ache in his bones. Please, he transmitted. I didn't know. I can leave. Another pause. When the voice returned, it carried a note of curiosity rather than anger. You are alone? Yes. Your ship registers as a short-range shuttle. How did you travel to this sector? Marcus hesitated. Jump gates. It took 3 months. 3 months in that vessel? That is inadvisable for your species. The alien's tone had shifted to something resembling concern. Marcus found himself laughing bitterly. I'm dying anyway. The trip couldn't kill me any faster than the cancer. Silence again. Then, we are boarding. Do not attempt to flee. The docking bay filled with a soft blue light as the alien craft settled into the landing cradle. Marcus watched through the security monitors as figures emerged from the ship. They were tall and graceful, moving with fluid precision. Their skin had a silvery quality, and they wore form-fitting suits that seemed to shift color with their movements. 3 aliens approached the main terminal. Marcus waited in the central hub, hands raised in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peaceful intent. The leader was female, he thought, with delicate features and large, violet eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. "I am Zarth of the Ethereal Collective," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the words seem to sing. "This station belongs to my people." The colonial administration said it was abandoned. Marcus replied, his voice hoarse with fear and exhaustion. "They had salvage rights." Zarth tilted her head, studying him with those remarkable eyes. "Your people are efficient at claiming what is not theirs. We departed to attend a generational ceremony. The station was placed in hibernation mode, not abandoned." "I can leave," Marcus repeated. "I'll contact the administration, get my money back somehow." "With what ship?" Zarth gestured toward his shuttle. "That craft will not survive another long journey. Its hull shows stress fractures." Marcus slumped into a nearby chair. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd come here to die in peace, and now he might die in conflict instead. "Then, I guess I'm at your mercy." Zarth approached slowly, her companions hanging back. "You spoke of cancer. Your body is failing. 6 months, maybe less." Marcus was surprised by how easily he admitted it to this alien stranger. "I came here because I wanted to die somewhere quiet, away from everything." "Death with dignity," Zarth murmured. "We understand this concept. Among my people, the final journey is sacred." She knelt beside his chair, bringing her face level with his. Up close, Marcus could see tiny scales along her cheekbones that caught the light like scattered diamonds. "Marcus Chun," she said carefully, pronouncing each syllable. "You have created an interesting situation. Our lore requires us to reclaim stolen property, but our ethics forbid us from abandoning those in need. I'm not your responsibility. Are you not?" Zarth's eyes seemed to sparkle with hidden amusement. "You are here on our station, dying slowly and alone. In our culture, this creates an obligation." Marcus didn't understand, but something in her tone suggested his situation had just become far more complicated than a simple trespassing case. Zarth rose gracefully and spoke in her own language to her companions. Their response was a series of melodic tones that sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Marcus watched their faces, searching for clues about his fate. Were they debating whether to space him or simply confiscate his shuttle and strand him here? "We have reached a decision," Zarth announced. "You may remain on the station during your final time, but under our supervision. We cannot allow you to die alone." "I want to die alone," Marcus protested. "That's why I came here. Impossible. The Ethereal Collective does not permit solitary death. It is considered the greatest tragedy one can suffer." One of her companions stepped forward, a male with broader shoulders and silver markings along his temples. "I am Kethvar, station keeper. For 40 cycles, this was my home. I know every circuit, every maintenance pathway." Marcus felt a surge of guilt. "You lived here?" "I'm sorry, I didn't know." The human administration said it was completely abandoned. "My people were attending the convergence," Kethvar explained. "It occurs once every 50 of your years. We expected to return in 12 months, not to find our homes sold to strangers." "The humans are efficient looters," the third alien added with unmistakable bitterness. This one was smaller, with intricate tattoos covering her visible skin. "I'm Lysana, healer. Your species has a talent for taking what belongs to others." Zarth shot her a warning look. Lysana speaks from anger, not wisdom. The human administration likely acted within their laws, however flawed those laws might be. Marcus struggled to his feet, his legs wobbling from fatigue and stress. "Look, I understand you're upset. I would be too, but I paid for this place with everything I had left. I'm not some corporate raider or military conqueror. I'm just a sick man who wanted to die somewhere peaceful." "And what are your family?" Lysana demanded. "Do they know you came here to surrender your life?" The question hit Marcus like a physical blow. "My wife died 2 years ago. No children. No other family. That's part of why I wanted to come here. The three aliens exchanged glances. Zarth spoke first. No Sprung. No Mate. No clan. No one. Marcus confirmed. This is worse than we thought, Kethvar murmured. Truly alone. I chose to be alone, Marcus insisted. It's what I want. What you want and what is right are different things, Zarth said firmly. No sentient being should face death in isolation. It poisons the spirit and dishonors the memory of those who came before. Marcus found himself getting angry despite his weakness. You don't understand human customs. We value independence, self-reliance. We understand perfectly, Oasis replied. We have studied your species for 3 centuries. You prize individual achievement above collective wisdom. It is both your greatest strength and your most tragic flaw. 3 centuries? Marcus stared at them. You've been watching us for 300 years. Observing, Zarth corrected. Learning. Occasionally intervening when your wars threaten to spill beyond your borders. Humanity fascinates us. You accomplish remarkable things through sheer, stubborn determination. But you also create unnecessary suffering, Kethvar added. Like this, coming to an unknown region of space, alone, to die without witness or ceremony. It violates every principle of dignified death. Marcus slumped back into his chair. The conversation was exhausting him, and the medical readings on his portable monitor were spiking. What do you want from me? Nothing, Zarth said. But we offer something to you. Allow us to tend this station together during your remaining time. Let us show you how our people face the final journey. In exchange, you can teach us about human resilience. I don't want to be studied like some lab specimen. Not studied, honored. Oasis' tone had softened. Among the collective, the dying are revered as bridges between worlds. Your knowledge and experience become precious gifts for those who remain. Marcus considered this. Part of him wanted to refuse out of sheer stubbornness. He'd planned for solitude, not alien roommates. But another part, the part that had been lonely since Sarah's death, whispered that maybe company wouldn't be so terrible. What would this arrangement involve? He asked finally. We restore the station to full function, Kethvar explained. This was once a way station for travelers crossing the nebula. We could make it beautiful again, a place of honor rather than abandonment. And in return, you share your stories, Zarth said. Tell us of your life, your mate, your species' struggles and triumphs. Help us understand why humans choose such difficult paths. Marcus laughed, a sound that held no humor. My stories aren't very interesting. Failed engineer, mediocre husband, man who couldn't even beat cancer. You traveled 3 months alone in a damaged shuttle to reach this place, Oasis pointed out. That suggests considerable determination. That suggests desperation. Perhaps both. Zarth moved to the observation window. Your people have a saying, it is better to burn out than to fade away. We find this philosophy both admirable and concerning. Neil Young, Marcus said automatically, though he was quoting someone else. You recognize cultural references even while dying. This is quintessentially human. Zarth turned back to him. Will you accept our proposal? Marcus closed his eyes, feeling the weight of exhaustion pressing down on him. When he opened them again, the 3 aliens were watching him with expressions he was beginning to recognize as concerned patience. I need to understand something, he said. Why does this matter to you? I'm a stranger who accidentally invaded your home. You could just dump me somewhere and forget about it. Because, Zarth said simply, in our culture, all death is connected. When someone dies alone and dishonored, it diminishes everyone. When someone faces the end with dignity and companionship, it enriches the universe. Plus, Kethvar added with what might have been a smile, you bought our station. Technically, that makes you family now. Despite everything, Marcus found himself smiling back. Maybe dying alone wasn't as appealing as he'd thought. 3 weeks later, Marcus barely recognized the station. The ethereals worked with an efficiency that bordered on magical. Corridors that had been dark and lifeless now hummed with soft bioluminescent lighting that shifted color with the time of day. The hydroponics bay flourished with alien plants that produced oxygen at twice the rate of Earth vegetation. The observation deck had been transformed into a stunning garden sanctuary where crystalline chimes created music from the solar winds. Marcus spent most of his time in the restored central hub, which Kethvar had converted into a combination living space and workshop. The ethereal had an artist's touch with technology, creating flowing interfaces that responded to thought as much as touch. Holographic displays showed star maps, station schematics, and what Marcus was beginning to understand was a continuously updating record of their conversations. "You're documenting everything?" he asked LYSS Anna during one of their daily medical sessions. "With your permission," she replied, running a scanner over his chest. The device hummed softly, its readings appearing as gentle patterns of light rather than harsh digital numbers. "Among our people, the words of the dying carry special weight. They're preserved for future generations to study and learn from. I'm not saying anything particularly profound. Yesterday, you spent 2 hours explaining the concept of baseball to Kethvar. You made him understand competition as entertainment rather than survival necessity. We had never grasped this distinction before." Marcus shifted uncomfortably on the medical table. The ethereals had replaced his harsh, human monitoring equipment with their own bioadaptive systems. The improvements were remarkable. His pain levels had decreased significantly, and he felt more alert than he had in months. "Your medicine is incredible," he admitted. "Why don't you share it with humanity? We could save millions of lives." Elwis's expression grew troubled. "We have tried in small ways. Your governments ask first about weapons applications. Your corporations demand exclusive rights. Your scientists insist on dissecting rather than learning. Not all humans are like that." "No," she agreed, "but enough where that contact becomes dangerous. We learned this through bitter experience." Marcus wanted to ask more, but Zara TH arrived carrying a steaming bowl of something that smelled like cinnamon and starlight. Over the past weeks, she had appointed herself as primary companion, spending hours listening to his stories and sharing her own people's history. "Today's meal is inspired by your descriptions of your mate's cooking," she announced. "I attempted to recreate what you called chicken soup." Marcus accepted the bowl gratefully. The ethereals had been fascinated by his stories about Sarah, particularly his description of how she had cared for him during his early treatments. Their own mating bonds were apparently more telepathic than emotional, making human devotion both puzzling and touching to them. "It smells wonderful," he said, taking a sip. The flavor was complex, nothing like chicken soup, but somehow capturing the comfort he associated with Sarah's cooking. "How do you do that? Make something completely alien taste like a memory?" "We are empathic," Zara TH explained. "We can sense the emotional resonance of experiences and translate them into sensory form. Your memories of comfort food carry specific harmonic signatures. That's beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Most meaningful abilities are," she replied with what he'd learned was her version of smile. Kethvar joined them, carrying a holographic projector. "I have completed the memorial hall," he announced. "Would you like to see?" The three ethereals had been working on something they called a life celebration chamber in the station's former cargo bay. Marcus had been curious, but had respected their request to keep it a surprise until completion. They made their way through corridors that now pulsed gently with biorhythmic lighting. Marcus still needed his walking stick, but the ethereal's medical treatments had stabilized his condition remarkably. He wasn't getting better, but he wasn't getting rapidly worse either. The cargo bay doors slid open to reveal something that took his breath away. The vast space had been transformed into a living artwork. Holographic displays showed scenes from his life, starting with childhood photos he'd shared from his personal files. There was his graduation from engineering school, his wedding to Sarah, their honeymoon trip to the Martian colonies. But it wasn't just his life. Intertwined with his memories were stories from the ethereal culture, showing how universal themes played out across species. Love, loss, achievement, disappointment, the endless cycle of existence rendered in beautiful, flowing patterns of light and sound. "This is incredible," Marcus whispered. Every culture has death rituals, Kethvar explained. Humans bury or burn your dead and share stories. We create living memorials that preserve not just the facts of a life, but its emotional essence. When my time comes, this will be my legacy. More than that, Zarth said, this will be our gift to your species. Proof that humans and ethereals can create beauty together. Perhaps it will inspire others to try cooperation instead of conquest. Marcus moved deeper into the chamber, watching his life unfold around him. But something was wrong with the chronology. The displays showed recent events that hadn't happened yet. "What's this?" he asked, pointing to images of himself working alongside the ethereals on what appeared to be station modifications. The three aliens exchanged glances. LYSSN spoke first. "We have been discussing your future. I thought my future was pretty well determined." "Your disease is progressing slowly," she continued. "Our medical intervention has bought you time, perhaps much more than your doctors predicted. But I'm still dying. Eventually, yes. But perhaps not for years rather than months." Marcus felt the room spinning around him. "Years. Our bioadaptive treatments work by enhancing your own immune system rather than replacing it," LYSSN explained. "For humans, this creates a temporary, but significant remission period. You could have 5 years, possibly 10. Marcus slumped against the nearest wall, overwhelmed. He prepared himself for death, made peace with it, even looked forward to joining Sarah. Now, they were telling him he had years left to live. "I don't understand what you want from me," he said finally. "We want to offer you a choice," Zarth said gently. "You can return to human space with our medical technology and live out your extended years among your own people. Or you can remain here, serving as the first human ambassador to the Ethereal Collective. Ambassador, your species and ours are destined to interact more frequently," Kethvar explained. "Human expansion is bringing you into regions where our people travel. Contact is inevitable. The question is whether that contact leads to understanding or conflict. And you think I can make a difference?" "You have already made a difference," Zarth said. "You have shown us that humans can choose cooperation over domination, that your people are capable of growth and wisdom." Marcus looked around the memorial chamber again, seeing his life reflected back at him through alien eyes. For the first time in years, he felt something he'd almost forgotten. He felt hope 2 years after arriving to die. Marcus stood in the station's command center, coordinating the delicate dance of a first contact scenario. The view screen showed a human exploration vessel, the UES Endeavor, maintaining a cautious distance while its crew tried to process what they were seeing. "Unknown station. This is Captain Rodriguez of the United Earth ship Endeavor. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." Marcus smiled at the familiar military formality. He'd used similar language himself during his brief stint in the Earth Defense Corps decades ago. "Endeavor, this is Kepler Station. I'm Marcus Chun, serving as human liaison to the Ethereal Collective. Permission to come aboard and explain the situation?" The pause that followed lasted nearly a minute. Marcus could imagine the frantic discussions happening on the human ship's bridge. First contact protocols, threat assessments, career-ending decisions being weighed by officers who'd never expected to encounter friendly aliens during a routine survey mission. "Mr. Chun," Captain Rodriguez finally responded, "our records show Marcus Chun as a deceased human civilian who disappeared in this sector 2 years ago. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated," Marcus replied, borrowing Mark Twain's famous line. Behind him, Zarth made the melodic sound that passed for ethereal laughter. "Your humor remains charmingly inappropriate for serious situations," she observed. "It's gotten me this far." The negotiations took 3 days. Marcus served as translator, mediator, and living proof that humans and ethereals could coexist peacefully. He told Captain Rodriguez and her crew about his terminal diagnosis, his accidental purchase of the station, and his decision to remain as an ambassador. "You understand the implications?" Rodriguez asked during a private conversation in her ready room. "Earth Command is going to want full debriefings, medical examinations, psychological evaluations. You'll be the most famous human in the galaxy. Or the most infamous," Marcus replied. Depending on how well this goes. These aliens, can they be trusted? Marcus considered the question carefully. They saved my life without expecting anything in return. They've shared technology that could revolutionize human medicine. They've asked for nothing but understanding and respect. Yes, Captain, I believe they can be trusted. The first official exchange of diplomatic personnel happened 6 months later. A small team of human scientists and diplomats took up residence on Kepler Station, while ethereal observers accompanied the next human deep space expedition. Marcus found himself busier than he'd ever been, serving as cultural interpreter and helping both species avoid the misunderstandings that could lead to conflict. The work was challenging but rewarding. Humans struggled with ethereal concepts of collective consciousness and empathic communication. Ethereals found human individualism and emotional volatility confusing and sometimes frightening. Marcus helped bridge these gaps, drawing on his own experience of learning to live with beings who thought and felt differently than he did. You have changed, OISS Anna observed during one of his regular medical checkups. The bitter sadness that surrounded you when we first met has been replaced by something else. Purpose, Marcus said simply. For the first time since Sarah died, I feel like I'm doing something meaningful. His health remained stable, though OISS Anna made it clear that the ethereal treatments were buying time, not providing cure. He would still die from cancer eventually, but perhaps not for years to come. It was enough. More than enough. The real test came during the Proxima incident, when human colonists and ethereal traders found themselves in dispute over resource rights to a mineral-rich asteroid. Both sides had legitimate claims under their respective laws, and both were prepared to enforce those claims with military force. Marcus spent a week shuttling between the human fleet and the ethereal collective, searching for a solution that would satisfy both species' sense of justice. The breakthrough came when he suggested a joint mining operation, with profits shared according to an algorithm based on investment and need rather than simple ownership. You think like a human, but negotiate like one of us, Zarth told him after the agreement was signed. Perhaps this is what the universe needs. Individuals who can stand between worlds and see truth from multiple perspectives. The success at Proxima led to Marcus being appointed as the first interspecies cultural attaché, a position created jointly by Earth Command and the Ethereal Council. He established a permanent office on Kepler Station, which had become a neutral meeting ground for human-ethereal relations. On the 3rd anniversary of his arrival, Marcus walked through the memorial hall that Kethvar had created. The holographic displays had grown more sophisticated, now showing not just his past, but an ongoing record of human-ethereal cooperation. Children from both species appeared in the projections, playing together on joint colony worlds that existed because of the peaceful contact he had helped facilitate. Do you ever regret staying? Zarth asked, joining him in the chamber. Marcus considered the question. He thought about Earth, about the life he'd left behind, about Sarah and the dreams they'd shared. Then he looked at the displays showing human and ethereal diplomats working together, scientists sharing discoveries, artists collaborating on works that neither species could have created alone. I came here to die alone, he said finally. Instead, I learned to live with others. No, I don't regret it. And when the time comes for your final journey? Marcus smiled. When that time comes, I won't be facing it alone. And maybe if we've done our job right, no one else will have to either. The stars wheeled overhead, the same stars that had witnessed his arrival as a broken man seeking solitude. Now they looked down on something unprecedented in galactic history. Two species learning to trust each other, guided by a dying human who had discovered that sometimes the end of one story was just the beginning of another. Marcus Chun had bought an abandoned starport to die alone. Instead, he had found a way to ensure that no one in the galaxy would ever have to die alone again. In a universe often marked by conflict and misunderstanding, that was perhaps humanity's finest accomplishment.